Today, I want to give you a distinction that is life-changing from a manifestation standpoint. It is really one distinction that if you carry this one distinction for the rest of your life is going to be unrecognizable. Welcome to the Dr. Erin Show. May you live your truth. Hi, and welcome to the Dr. Erin Show. I'm Dr. Erin, Doctor of Divinity and Master Coach, founder of Spiritual Psychology School and Soul Society, the community. And each week we come together to know the truth, live on spiritual principle, and align with universal law. And this week in particular, I want to bring you a very important manifestation distinction that is life-changing, that I literally forget sometimes. It is true that the only dis-ease is amnesia, because it is why we have a daily spiritual practice to remember, to remember, to remember. Manifestation is a curious thing. We think it's something that you do, but we're manifesting 24/7 no matter what. So we might as well align with the universal law and really understand how we're creating everything with perfection. Okay, so this week's distinction I want to bring you is the power of yes. So the best way to teach this distinction is through multiple stories. So one is, I was up in Montecito this week. I was meeting up with a dear friend, and we were having this heart-to-heart conversation. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And we began to talk about all kinds of different things, the challenges that we were going through and the blessings and all this stuff. And I was telling her about my grandchild and a bunch of things. And she's like, I really thought that I would have a child and a family in this lifetime. It's been really interesting. And she's in her later 40s. And she's like, I can't believe it hasn't happened. And I'm so surprised. I really, truly thought that that was going to be my destiny in this lifetime. So we began to dive into it, and we began to uncover her hidden commitments at a subconscious level. Because here she was talking about wanting to have a family and have a child, and then everything she talked about was traveling, going with different communities, and this is like her genius, and she's really amazing at the conscious socializing and groups and communities and all this stuff. And as we began to dive more into it, she began to realize, like, oh, well, this is probably why this isn't manifesting, because I am focusing on these things, right? It was almost like she's sending mixed messages. And we recognize that the universe just responds with a yes. That's all the universe does. It just responds with a yes. So whatever we're energizing, it has to respond exponentially, even if that's something we don't want or whatever. If we're, focusing on what we don't want, then we're going to get more of what we don't want, right? If we're focusing on traveling and being in communities, then we're going to get more of that, right? It's really what we focus on that we're creating. So I wanted to give an example of this through something that was demonstrated as a big manifestation in my life over the last couple of weeks, which I think I may have spoken about it briefly. But it is, I kind of feel like the story is a little bit like almost embarrassing right now, just because of all the intense things going on in the world. So I feel like it's almost like a white privilege kind of story, but I'm using it for a real clear example of the manifestation process. Okay. So it's actually around one of my girlfriend's jewelry. So I think I told you that a couple months back, I had decided that I wanted a new necklace. I had lost necklace, and jewelry for me is really important. I wear jewelry every single day, and it's a very almost spiritual thing for me. I just love gold. There's something about it just magnifies the opulence of my life. And I've worked very hard for the jewelry that I have. I came again from no money. I had to go to the thrift store for my child. I had to work very hard to become a self-made millionaire and have a business that's thriving, all that stuff. So I say this with respect and being proud of myself. Okay. So jewelry is a really important thing to me. So I was decided that I wanted a new necklace. So, every once in a while in between things, I would be looking at necklaces and different sites and whatever. And one day I stumbled upon a dear friend of mine, Lisa Smith Jewelry. And I remember kind of going through a page, and there was this one picture. It was a picture of a young woman with all these necklaces across her neck. And I remember just thinking, yes, it was just a hell yes. It was an F yes. It was just a full body yes. And I just remember seeing it and being like, yes. I didn't think about, well, how am I going to get that? Or should I get that? Or there was no consideration basically, it was just every cell in my body and my heart just said yes. And that was it. Let it go. I think I commented on her thing, which I've said in here. I commented on her thing and I sent her a message because I just want to send her love. And I was like, your stuff looks amazing. Congratulations. I'm so glad you're doing well. Because I saw she was like doing a thing at Goop as well. She messaged me back and she said, "Oh my gosh, how are you? I would love to gift you a necklace." And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet. No problem. Whatever. We'll get together sometime. I'm up in Santa Barbara. She's up in Santa Barbara." So, another month went by. I wasn't thinking about it like, oh, I need to get that necklace or whatever. And we ended up meeting up. And I think I've told this story. Like, I literally can't remember if I told the story or not. But basically, she sat down and I was like, I just want you to know that I just love jewelry. I don't know what it is, but I just love jewelry. And I just thought, your jewelry looks so beautiful. Congratulations. She goes, I have been praying and meditating every morning, and you have been in my consciousness because you are who I want as the face of my jewelry. And I was like, okay, well, and I thought, well, I'm not going to start a business of jewelry because it's not my mission, but I love jewelry. And I've really known that for some time, but I was like, I'm not going to start a jewelry. I've considered it in the past, but I was like, I'm not going to start a jewelry business. So why not? Why not just, do some photo shoots, have her use my face. And she's like, I'd love to just gift you a bunch of jewelry. And you could do a photo shoot. You can use the photos yourself, whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. Right. There was no attachment to it. There was no consideration about money. There was nothing. And lo and behold, she gifted me literally almost all the Zach necklaces that were in that picture. So I realized after I'd had the photo shoot and I came home and I was looking at all these beautiful necklaces, I was like, oh my gosh, I manifested this. I literally saw that picture, just said yes, no attachment to it, not trying to make it work, trying to figure out how to do it. And literally, I just like put that yes in the universe. And look what happened. And that's manifesting. Okay. Most of the time we manifest, like, for example, if I'm manifesting in my business, I'm manifesting, I'm holding it in consciousness, but I have the consideration, like, I need to work, I need to do stuff, I need to make it happen. And that's true. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. But that's the issue with our manifesting. We generally, we develop our skill or our genius or our gifts, and we're developing it, but we're not just doing it out of love. We're doing it out of like, let me try and get better. Let me try and, become the embodiment. Let me try and figure out the mindset and the skill set. And we're trying to make it happen. And then it becomes hard. We do it, but there's effort and there's challenges and stuff with it. So I want to tell you that story because it's so important. The power of yes. The power of yes. And I invite you to think about where you've done something like that. Where have you just said yes to something? Maybe it was, you know, a place that you've always wanted to live or go, and all of a sudden the phone rings and someone's like, "Hey, I'm over here. Would you like to come?" Or, maybe it's just like you thought about something you wanted to eat, and lo and behold, it's at the next week at some event, that one thing that you've been craving to eat, right? And it may sound trivial. A lot of times manifesting, I cringe when we think about manifesting because it's like most people just want things. And we're not here to just have things. We're here to actually experience the depths of our soul in form. Okay. So I'm not about just manifesting a bunch of things. However, I do believe that we're here to master the spiritual and the material. And it's fun when it's kind of a little bit more shallow, like jewelry and things like that, because it reminds us the power of yes. So I invite us not to just think about this when it comes to jewelry or material things, but think about what would it be like if you just said yes. If you just said yes to fulfilling, your soul's purpose. If you just said yes, I don't know how, but I just want to feel that feeling of having a soul's purpose. I don't even know what my soul's purpose is. Or maybe it's like, hey, I just know that I'm going to demonstrate and manifest have an incredible partner. I'm not going to try and figure out or force it or try and be sad when it's not happening exactly how I want it to happen. I'm just going to know it's done. So it's really important to get into the power of yes and notice when you say yes to something, what considerations come up? Do you think, oh, well, that can't be real or whatever? And that brings me to another section of today of our, conversation of getting our mind right. And this comes into the call-in question of this week. And the call-in question really is, we're always around coaching tips. Okay. So this is actually around a client, and she was wondering, because we talked about this exact thing. And she was wondering if she's saying yes to her business because she keeps thinking that she keeps doubting herself, like she doesn't deserve to have full success in her business. Okay. She keeps expecting it to fail, like she's working and she's doing all this stuff, but she keeps like considering it's not going to work out. Right. So the issue is, and what we're working on with her, because this is not just a call in, but a client, is like, how does she actually keep believing? How does she keep believing and saying yes? And every time that little mini me voice comes in of like, oh, this is going to be hard, or this isn't going to work, or whatever it is, she has to reaffirm all the time that it's a yes. Of course, we need to do that deep work to clear out all the limited beliefs and limited identity of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy of having a powerful business, right? Most of us don't even believe. Do we believe that you could have a business that does $1 million a year? Is it possible? Or do you think you've got to work so hard for the rest of your life to maybe get there one day, right? When we say yes and we release the control, we release the attachment, we release all that, that's when the universe can work for us because it just says yes. It just says yes. Okay. Which brings us to the universal law this week, which is no coincidence, the law of attraction. Okay. And the law of attraction was really misunderstood years ago when they brought up The Secret and thought about the law of attraction. Okay. The law of attraction didn't come out when that documentary came out. The law of attraction is a universal axiom and the way that the universe manifests for the beginning of time. Okay. These are ancient wisdom. Okay. And the universal law of attraction, the law of attraction is basically you don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are. Okay. So there was no accident that the jewelry from Lisa Smith, and that happened because I love jewelry. Like I am the embodiment of this, right? It's no accident that my friend who really wants to have a family and a child isn't demonstrating that, because it's actually not, I didn't even know that she wanted a child. Like when I think about her in community. I think about her genius of what she's doing, of how she connects people. And that's who she is. And that's what her life is. Okay. We manifest who we are. The reason why I have a very successful coaching school, right, is because it's literally, if you know me, if you're my friend, I live and breathe transformation. Every conversation I have is really about truth and transformation. And so I can see this, you can see this in your friends, you can see it in your family, you can see it with anybody. What they focus on and what they embody is what their life is. I have friends that have they just have so many friends because they're always around friends and they're celebrating friends and they're focusing on social events, and that's who they are. I have friends that are in poverty basically, and all they talk about is how they don't have money, how it's hard, how, poor me and the victim. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, because some people literally are in bad situations. Okay. I've been there. Okay. But if you keep focusing on that, it's only going to get you more of that. If you focus on the possibility and how can I get out of the situation, and how can I, start creating value and getting value, right? It's whatever we're embodying, the conversation that we're having, what we're embodying, what we're living, what we're believing, being and living. And that is the law of attraction. And so as we go into this week, no matter what's happening, politically, no matter what's happening in, the financial world, no matter what's happening with the weather or, global events, what I know is that we live in a relative universe. There's always the possibility for abundance and miracles and love and expansion. And there's always the opportunity for division and war and, scarcity and making people wrong. It's been here from the beginning of time, and it will always be here. And it's really up to us to say yes to what we do want to focus on, to say yes to what we do want to manifest, to say yes. That doesn't mean we spiritual bypass or just, don't look at whatever. But there's no point in focusing on anything in the news or anything hard going on unless it is your divine calling. I know what my divine calling is. My divine calling is to empower and teach and train people just like you to be able to absolutely release yourself of the chains of the external world, to emancipate yourself from the external world, and to really truly create heaven on earth. And yes, that is along with fulfilling your soul's purpose and your calling and mission to help others who are going through hard times, specifically of what you've gone through. And so, right now, just taking our hands together, just recognizing right here, right now, the power of the mind, the power of yes, recognizing the universe only says yes. I recognize that this is the truth, that this is the secret, that this is what we're here to do, to focus on what we do want to embody, to focus on what we do want to demonstrate and manifest. And in this, I'm knowing absolutely abundance, prosperity, love, joy, vitality, eternal life, eternal love, oneness, unity, and divinity. And so I simply know this in the name of truth, as together we say, and so it is. Okay, you guys, if you're not already in Soul Society community, you can definitely join below. You can also grab the Universal Law calendar. Come here every week. Let's get our mind right. Let's do this thing. Also, the astrology weekly updates are in the newsletter as well. Sometimes I go over them here, sometimes I don't, but I want these weekly things to be something that are distinctions that are not just about that week, right? We want distinctions that we can use these every single week forever, that people can binge over and over again so they can get their mind right. Okay. So have a beautiful, blessed day, and may you live the truth.